Talk about momentum. Brad Keselowski, after a great late regular season, locks himself into the chase, and right now looking very impressive in this qualifying run, and then it all goes downhill.
But what he did, he rolled out early trying to get in the corner, but it still didn't go through the middle, I think, what he was looking for.
Wendy Venerini.
Thank you, Rick. There's so many things I want to chat about with Ryan Newman, between Matt Kenseth and his quick lap because his throttle probably hung, and Jimmy Johnson turning, what, 45? I don't know, he gets older or no older. So what do you feel like chatting about, Ryan?
I like watching the old YouTube videos of Jimmy and the Roman Chariots.
Of course. Larry, Matt, can you believe all these drivers blaming themselves?
Well, they're in the biggest control when they're out there during qualifying. So, you know, actually, I think when Carl looks back at that lap, he's going to see where turn 6 and 7 really cost him a lot of time. But look at this lap by Marcus Ambrose. In this 9 cars, he comes up through the S's 2/10 quicker than Jimmy Johnson right now. Watch the little plus or minus number in the blue box down in the bottom right-hand corner.
Jimmy Johnson's fast time, Marcus, gets a little squirrely there. Jimmy Johnson's time was a 1:10.18. Yesterday, Ambrose was the only guy to go into the 1:09s, and he separated himself from the rest of the field, Kyle, by almost half a second in final practice.
And I'm telling you something, he got through that bus stop. That thing, he carried a lot of speed, but he controlled the speed, and that was a great bus stop for him.
He has never qualified on the front row here in Sprint Cup at Watkins Glen. He's never finished any worse than third in three finishes here. To the line.
Yeah, he has nailed every corner, it looks like.
Does he go to the top? Yes, he does. Marcus Ambrose with a 1:10 flat. Provisionally on the pole. Let's go back and analyze that bus stop experience.
Right, they made some changes after last practice to free up the car in the corners for qualifying, Alan.
I like that, Jamie. Committed to the grip you're hoping is going to be there.
You hope you don't overestimate how much is there.
Here's Joey Logano looking for the grip he hopes in, too.
I look down, he's going to be down the 49.70s here, maybe 60s.
Yeah, at a 60, 49.60.
Wow. 203 miles an hour going into the corner.
Yeah.
Stephen Light and Mike Skinner all not going to race on Sunday here at Chicagoland. Kyle Busch, 4 wins on the season, puts him up at the top of the points as we start the chase for the Sprint Cup.
I think this will just show you how strange the practice sessions were. Kyle and I were talking about this at commercial break. Kyle Busch was 4th quickest in the first practice, which is the reason he's going 4th from the end. But he was 44th in the second practice, and we watched him a lot, and we talked to Kyle. There was not a lot of panic going on in that garage area. Don't think he's going to sit on the pole, but he's flirting with just inside the top 10 as he comes back to the line.
Pretty good starting position. Kyle Busch goes 9th quick. Starting position big, but also pit selection big. I
think he's worried about what they're doing to it. And I don't mean NASCAR either. I think maybe he wonders what Allen's doing to it.
Denny Hamlin, the FedEx Express Toyota, you heard him hit the chip at the end of the front straightaway.
That's just a friendly reminder. Dude, you might be hitting in this corner a little too fast.
DW, I know this is not what you want to hear. As we know, Denny's a big basketball fan. He says Duke's going to take the money this year.
There could be some U's and some K's involved. I'm just not sure it's going to be any D's and E's involved.
4th at a 15:21. Tell him to go spend some time with Mr. Boyer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then come visit Mr. Walter.
That's right. Second lap for Hamlin is 2/100 slower.
Well, good luck to Marcus. And I talked to his wife Sonia on Sunday, and she said to me on Sunday, I think I may have to fly home to get their daughter Adelaide to their first day of school. She missed victory lane. So upsetting.
Oh, wow. There'll be other victory lanes. Don't worry. Will this start the march of Australian Supercar Series drivers to the United States? Who knows?
Well, you know, Marcus said he didn't realize that it had the reach that it had, all the press he's done. Well, he was from down under, and he knew about this series, and he wanted to come here. So NASCAR has a reach out, goes all around the world.
Happiest man in the Sprint Cup garage, Marcus Ambrose from Tasmania in the Stanley DeWalt Ford number 9, winner at Watkins Glen in his 105th career start.
Marcus, another one of the drivers that's going to be going back and forth from Michigan to Montreal. He'll be running the Nationwide Series race up there tomorrow.
Was so disappointed not to be able to run the Nationwide race at Watkins Glen. He'd won the previous 3, wanted to go for 4 in a row, didn't quite get the sponsorship package in place in time to do it, but is going to do it at Montreal.
You know, I read something yesterday, and I think you'll relate to this, as Marcus is running on a top 10 run. He won Watkins Glen in a Petty Ford. The last Petty win in a Ford was Martinsville, 1969.
That was the one and only season that Richard Petty drove a Ford in Sprint Cup competition.
Kevin Harvick, one of the guys up at the top of the chart when it comes to chase drivers, looking for a championship, very focused on a championship here in 2011.
Found it interesting what he said this week to the media. He said, you know, probably one thing that hurt us was winning so many races earlier in the year. He said, we started trying things and we finally decided, okay, let's just go back to what we were doing, and we couldn't get there. And he said the Sunday after the Bristol race, when they
unorthodox. He's on it.
And you know, really and truly, it's like this is like a normal qualifying lap now. I mean, that first lap he just rode around, so this is like you normally would qualify right here for him.
Smooth and quick back to the gas.
Sounded good.
You know, Carl Edwards said it in his interview with Steve Burns. Of course, you want to qualify well anywhere, but the big reason here, even with a 500-lap race, pit selection is so critical here on this tight pit road.
First lap of 20:07. That's right on top of Matt Kenseth's first lap.
It's going to be much better.
That car rode through the middle, looked nice and free, and then looks like it hooked up good on the exit of the corner.
Little wobble there, but I think he's still going to be a great lap.
Got a good launch off the corner, and he goes to P1 with a 1972.
Session for over 2 to 3 months. And when your driver can bring the field to the green flag next Sunday for the Daytona 500, it is huge for everyone involved with that race team.
You heard from Brad Keselowski. He is the first driver to qualify. 49 drivers were entered for the Daytona 500. Norm Benning did not practice, so he is not eligible to make a qualifying lap. Keselowski still driving for Roger Penske as last year, but he moves over to the Blue Deuce from the number 22.
And I think because of having that number 2, a lot of people have tagged the nickname on him, BK2, this year in 2011.
Keselowski, second-generation driver from Michigan. Driving one of 4 Dodges entered for the 500.
And we saw, just like we were talking about there, Mike, you get that wind-up lap. Take her up nice and high, because these cars pick up momentum, and you want to be at max speed when you come to get the white flag.
First lap up top, second lap right around the bottom, around that double yellow line that signifies out of bounds under racing conditions.
Yeah, you might. I don't think you'll see anybody drop below the line coming through the trioval here on their final lap, but occasionally somebody tries that. It's a little shorter, and that's what you're looking for, shortest distance.
Keselowski turned 27 yesterday. He's the defending champion of NASCAR's second tier, the Nationwide Series, and he clocks in at 184.00. Marcus Ambrose in the DeWalt Stanley Ford. He has a top 10 start here and a third place finish in 2009. He's the 5th first-time winner this season.
He had several good runs driving 47 team. I know one year he finished 10th here and spent most of the race down a cylinder.
He's going to be top 5. Front row. First for Marcus Ambrose. 1571. He pips Jimmy by a 100th of a second.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's going to be slower on his second lap. Marcus is on the pole at a 7:15. He actually ran a 7:27 on that lap. And just looking back there, David Reagan is 11th at a 7:87. A.J. Allmendinger, who comes in here The best of the rest so far, 13th in the points entering Chicagoland.
Allmendinger bringing that Ford Fusion.
I'm going to tell you, his car looked pretty good through 3 and 4 over the bumps right there. It was pretty stable.
And that's important. When you know it's got to happen on lap 1 is how you get through there come to take the green.
There is nothing worse from a driver's perspective than to barrel off into turn 3 on your coming to the green lap and that thing take off on you. Because then it's already in your head before that. If you're comfortable through 3 and 4 coming to the green, most of the time you have a pretty decent lap. And if you throw it away, it's your fault you threw it away. But his car looked pretty decent.
And you know, I talked about him being the best of the rest. He's 13th in the points. I truly believe that, yeah, that's still a goal. It's to stay 13th in the points, obviously win a race. And you look at his last 5 races, Rick.
KJ is always good for a joke, but you know what? He is exactly right. You drive in here to Talladega, there are more people selling firewood, but it was chilly last night. It's going to be chilly tonight.
I think the best comment I heard on the radio driving in this morning, the Surgeon General would not be happy with this area right now.
I bought some firewood and took it to the hotel room, but it didn't keep me warm at all. I don't know what the deal was.
You were the one that set off the alarm last night.
Yes, I was.
Joey Logano is one of those drivers that always seems to be around when it comes to the end of one of these plate races, and this is a good track for him.
Yeah, 5 starts, 2 top 5s, and 4 top 10s. This is the same car that he finished 10th with here in the spring.
And it is very important for Joey. He's got a big job, and he's going to be tandem drivers with the number 18 of Kyle Busch. But last time we raced here, one of the most exciting finishes we've ever seen in NASCAR history. Jimmy Johnson was the guy who finished first, and he's with Bob Dillner.
That's right, and that was a very exciting finish here the last time we were here. Of course, you got the better part of it because you got to go to victory lane. How pumped up are you for this weekend, Jimmy?
I'm excited. We had a great practice session yesterday, and feel like all 400 cars have speed, and we all have a lot of history working together with one another. So we'll just have to get in the race and see what happens. As we all know, a lot can take place tomorrow afternoon, and we're in a position where we need to go get a lot of points. So hopefully we can do that.
I thought what was really interesting watching you guys at some point yesterday, trying to get together 4 cars in a row and figure out would that work for periods of the race. What did you learn, Jim?
We're just messing around out there. We're trying to find things to do to get laps on the track and make the crew chiefs happy. They told us all that we're only going to run a handful of laps. And Dale Jr. is pretty upset yesterday because, in a funny way, Stevie told him that, hey man, we're going to run 4 or 5 laps and we're done. And then we ran start to finish both practice sessions. So we were just trying to make guys happy.
And one of the true veterans of the sport, Bobby Labonte, the number 47, is out on the racetrack right now. We've had 22 cars go out of the 44. Right now, Mike Skinner has been knocked out of the race. He is the only go-or-go-homer that will not make the show.
Good first lap for Bobby Labonte. 22.73. That's top of the heap right now.
And all I know is when they created this system where basically qualifying orders from slowest to fastest, we're continuing to see a new pole sitter every time another driver goes out.
Yeah, and that's cool. Remember how we used to have one and they'd get up there and everybody tried to shoot him, knock him off, no matter because.
And post-race coverage you can't get anywhere else. Watch NASCAR Victory Lane fueled by Sunoco at its new time, immediately following the Cup race and only on speed. Joey Logano in the Home Depot Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Next out on the speedway.
Hermie had been watching some drivers come through 3 and 4 earlier, come to take the green. And when you know you're only going to run 1 lap, that can be the most important part of the lap is how you get through there, come to take that green flag. It dictates the speed all the way down this front straightaway.
It really does. You got to get a good run off turn 4 to get to green flag. It also tells you a lot about what your car may be like on the actual qualifying run. Joey Logano must have felt pretty good to him, Larry. He goes to the top of the speed chart, 28.228.
Wendy standing by with one of our championship contenders.
Absolutely, and that would be Kevin Harvick deep in that hunt right now for that championship. When we come to this racetrack, how do you approach it with this many races to go?
I think we do the same things that we have been doing. Rheem Chevrolet has driven good, but the speeds are so fast we've been off a couple tenths. So we just got to keep pushing the pedal down until the car does something different and see what happens. So
Denny Hamlin in the FedEx number 11 Camry. A winner here, or rather a pole winner here in the fall of 2009. Third is his best finish at this track.
205.
Well, he got back to that gas.
Looked
I know,
good.
and he was able to stay in it.
Looked good right there. Didn't move around much at all off the 2. You can see that real dark shield he has on there, keeping that sun out of his eyes.
About a 10th off, still within striking distance, but
he got in there nice.
He made sure, like Montoya, that he didn't overdrive the corner. He had his hands full there, but he stayed in the throttle.
He's coming, he's coming. It's not going to be on the pole, but it's a nice lap.
second for Hamlin. He bests his teammate Joey Logano by 3 100ths, but is 8 100ths off of Montoya's. Driving for legendary Super Bowl coach and past Cup champion owner Joe Gibbs.
And those wins this year, if he could do that again this year, and assuming nobody else had more, he didn't make the chase last year, but those wins would have gotten him into the chase under the new format.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago when he didn't make the chase, back in 2009. Came up just a little bit short.
Last year, or excuse me, 2009, Kyle led 88 of the first 120 laps of the 500. But wound up for 41st after getting caught up in the big one.
You know, a lot of times we want to beat Kyle up for maybe walking away from the interview when he's had a bad day. But he said this offseason, he relates his two philosophies about winning a lot to what Al Davis, longtime owner of the Oakland Raiders, always told his players. One, there's nothing more important than winning. And two, demanding a commitment to excellence from not only his team, but most of all from himself.
First lap for Kyle is about a 10th slower than Brad Keselowski and Bobby Labonte, who had identical first laps. You see him in third place on the tracker. He's a newlywed, got married in Chicago on New Year's Eve, honeymooned for 2 weeks in Jamaica.
Just to follow up a little bit on what you said, Larry, about winning. You show me a guy that's not committed to winning, if that's not the only thing he thinks about, I'll show you a guy that doesn't win much.
I think we saw that last night in the Budweiser shootout.
Yes, we did.
It's amazing, though, our first three cars, Darrell, they run within less than a tenth of each other. That's about what we saw yesterday.
Here is the key statistic on this tracker in blue, white on blue, and that is the differential between this car and the fastest car. 1/10 of a second. Kyle Busch, 183.
Can you believe we actually used to test? And then we used to, you know, you look back and you see guys on pit road without helmets. Can you believe we ever used to not have guys with helmets? Now, pretty soon we're going to get used to this thing and not drawing that pill for qualifying anymore and going by speed. Someday we're going to say, can you believe we used to set qualifying by pills?
Everything that happens in our sport is that way. I think back to when we used to change engines once or twice a day at the racetrack. And now you can't even remember when we did that.
We used to go to Talladega when they'd open up the racetrack at 9 o'clock and close it for practice at 5, and you could practice as much as you wanted to all day long, and you'd change engines 2 or 3 times. They're already saying, can you believe Larry McReynolds and Kyle Petty were ever a part of this sport?
We're not as old as people think we are, though.
On that note, let's go to Bob Dillner with the Biff.
That's right, chatting with Greg Biffle. A good top 5 run last week, and this is a place that you love. 2 victories here, so is this the track that you get back into victory lane, Greg?
Well, I hope so. Our car was pretty good in the 2 practices we had yesterday. Struggled just a little bit, but, you know, track's got a lot more grip now, a lot faster speed, so curious to see how it sticks here in qualifying. But I think for the race, we got a pretty good car.
Guys, I think he's one of the chasers, the non-chasers that could actually steal the show here.
But race, because that fist bump with the explosion went out in about 82. So just thought I'd throw that out there, okay? So we're all old, okay? So let's
How about Tony Stewart when he went out in that number 14? He goes 9th quick at 29.828. Now on the clock, Paul Menard is number 27. Flirting with a top 5 starting spot right now.
I talked to this group yesterday in the garage area, and they're just trying to stop the bleeding right now. You know, they won the Brickyard 400 at Indy about 5 or 6 races ago, and it has been a downhill slide for this group, so they're just trying to make something happen, whether it's on qualifying day or on race day.
Should be pretty pleased with that. Second quick for Paul Menard, 29.488, just about 2 100ths of a second slower than what Matt Kenseth was able to.
An awesome job building it, and the ECR engines have been great all year.
Why are you qualifying so well this year?
I have no clue. I don't know, but we'll take it. You know, I'm more excited about this car in race trim. I felt good about last week's car. We had some problems with the brake rotor at the end of the race, and this car here, just right off the truck, felt really good to me. So I'm excited about it.
You're still on the pole, you know. This is good.
I'll walk away now.
Run.
He's left me.
Run.
Denny Hamlin, the FedEx Office Toyota, going to be 7th fastest, 28.94. Hamlin won both races. Joey Logano, 6th trip to Bristol. He won the pole here for the spring race in 2010. He's looking for his 3rd pole of the season. Car floated up a little bit off the corner there.
His teammates right now, Kyle Busch is 15th, goes to 16th because Joey goes to 4th with his 20 car. He becomes the fastest Toyota.
So 3 Chevys, a Toyota, a Dodge, and a Ford. That's the order right now as Logano completes his run in the Home Depot Toyota. And the track continues, it looks like, to gain speed with 8 cars.
Working with him, that makes you a champion. And I think other drivers are starting to look at Jimmy and say, what is he doing that I'm not?
Maybe it's what he's not doing. He's not racing in the Nationwide of the Truck Series. He doesn't have dirt late models. He concentrates 100% on his cup racing and his family.
I told him, I said, I think you need to look at what your assets are. And your asset is, I'm able to focus, I'm single-minded, I do one thing, and I do it really, really well.
You know, the other thing that intrigued me that he told us, he said, yeah, there's a lot of times he'd love for his race car to feel more comfortable, but he has learned when you make it more comfortable, it's not going to go as fast. And he does not want to slow his race car down.
We thought last year Johnson would be vulnerable. With Shani expecting their first child, you know what the arrival of a baby does to your concentration and especially your sleep patterns, but Johnson was unwavered and drove to a 5th straight title. First lap, 49.30. That will put him in the top 10 just barely of first laps.
Yeah, that's a little bit off of what Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon, his 2 teammates, ran on their first lap.
But that's about what Trevor Brayne ran on his first lap. So we've seen some big pickups.
See right there, right now, he's tracking about 12th, 11th or 12th.
I think these guys have a little concern, though, Larry, about the speed they had in their car. They tested down here. They didn't have the fastest car. Went home and built a new one.
Yep. Speed comes up a little off turn 4. He gains about 4 miles an hour to the flag, but Johnson will have to settle for 14th and get his starting spot on Thursday.
Hamlin was, up until the very last race, the closest competitor that Jimmy Johnson has had in the last 5 years. They have really fallen off of the pace that they set a year ago.
8 wins in 2011, and they have 1 this year. That was the June Michigan race.
Big difference from 2010 to 2011 as we see the 46 of Scott Speed now on the clock. Not looking bad, flirting with the top speed here as he rockets down the backstretch.
Needs to beat a 30.136, which is what Josh Weiss in the 37 car ran, and I think he's going to maybe beat that time here on lap 1, so he hopefully will be able to shut it down. He will. 30 flat, so he's locked in on lap 1.
He had a good 3 and 4. His car, we've seen guys fall off like we said before, but I mean, he got right back down on the bottom of the racetrack and picked up the throttle.
Scott Speed, one of those drivers that's been searching for a ride, hoping to get something consistent after running with Red Bull for a few years, not only in the Camping World Truck Series, but then making the move into the Cup Series. He's going to try it for another lap, try to improve, but actually slows down just over 1/10 of a second on lap number 2. His first lap will be his lap of record, and it is second quick of the 9 that have been on the racetrack.
So we got to go from last to first or second in 40 laps. So we're going to need some help with the fan vote, I think, so help me out there. But, you know, we definitely still got a shot at it, though. I think I've got a pretty good race car. And you never know what's going to happen. It's the All-Star race. Anything can happen. We can be there at the end. So we'll give it our best shot tomorrow.
Good. Thank you.
Joey Logano in the Home Depot Toyota. Joey turns 21 years old on Tuesday. 2-time All-Star racer.
Well, he talked about getting a little help with the fan vote. If you go back to 2009. He actually got the fan vote that year. And then last year started second, finished third in the Sprint All-Star race because of that win he had at Loudon in June of that year.
Going for the front row. Inside the front row.
I talked to Greg Zippadelli, the crew chief, and of course we interviewed him about this engine change, and they will have to go to the rear of the field, and they felt like something may have been going on with it before practice ended. And then Matt Yoakum was telling me that they also, when they were just checking the lash, they found another issue, and that's the reason they decided to go ahead and change the engine.
Get it. But the bus stop, that area of the racetrack will lull you to sleep. You think you can just pitch it down it there and it'll catch itself, but there was so much trash there, there's no way that he could catch himself.
The 47 at the hands of Bobby Labonte is the next one out in qualifying. We've seen this car have good results here in the past, and as Bobby builds to speed, let's go to Wendy.
Thank you, Lee. We know Martin Truex Jr. was very good at Sonoma at Infineon Raceway, so we expect you to be just as good here in Watkins Glen. Martin, are you looking forward to it?
I am. I always enjoy coming up here. I've been coming up here a long time and enjoy the track. And our Napa Toyota's been really good this weekend. Guys have done a great job with it. And, here it's just about putting together that perfect lap. We haven't been on the track since yesterday. Coming in and getting in the mindset to go out there and put together a good lap is tough to do here, but we're looking forward to it and hopefully get this thing in the top 5 or so.
All right, good luck to Martin. I know they want to back up their performance and the quality car they had at Sonoma. Lee?
This man here, Bobby Labonte, Wendy, has sat on the pole here at Watkins Glen back in 2000, and as we enjoy the rest of his lap, Larry Mack, what do you think about that thing that we were talking about earlier? Should a road course event be part of the chase? What's your personal feelings on that?
It's one of those things, Lee, I could live with it or I could live without it. To me, the chase, the 10 races of the chase, and real quick, Bobby Labonte is on a lap that I think is going to break the old track record as we see him go through the last corner here, though. But to me, the chase should be made up of predominantly the types of racetracks that we run the first 26. If you put a road course race in it, that's 50% of the road course races that we run. And Bobby Labonte did shatter the track record by almost 0.2 of a second at 1:10.6.
Joey Logano, the 28th car out in qualifying this afternoon here at Daytona. One top 20 finish and 5 starts here at the World Center of Racing. 2 years ago, he finished 19th in the summer race. And 1 top 10 start, 9th in his debut in the 2009 Daytona 500. I'll tell you, Logano was impressive last week at Sonoma. He qualified on the pole, which I think surprised a lot of people. Ran the K&N Pro Series West race out there, gained a lot of experience. The start of the race, car was not where he wanted it, but Joey was able to get it dialed in and eventually finished inside the top 10. And
you saw David Reagan there on the right-hand side of your screen. David posted a very impressive lap. He's 5th fastest at the moment with a 1:10.8. That's pretty good going.
Good, really good going, because we saw him have a couple of issues yesterday in one of the practice sessions. And we heard David talk, my 5th or 6th lap is my better lap. I've just got to get into that rhythm. So to bust off that lap just on a one-off is a good job by David Reagan.
Yeah, considering his best finish here at Watkins Glen in 4 starts has been 24th a couple of years ago.
Yeah, and back to our chase issues and what races should be in the chase. I've got a lot of stuff on Twitter here about dirt. Daytona's not dirt. These racetracks aren't. We don't race on dirt. So let's be real clear.
Whoa! Denny Hamlin's lost it.
Wow.
Into the wall. And he was on a pole run coming out of the carousel turn 5.
Yeah, that's just that one corner in a nutshell has been Denny Hamlin's year.
And the other go or go homer driver that has to race his way in on time to see if he will race on Sunday. Early on the racetrack and now on the clock while he's making his lap. Let's go to Wendy.
David Ruderman is the last driver to go out for qualifying. David, can you back up the practice time being the fastest yesterday?
I hope so. The track's a little warmer, but speed seemed to be up there and the grip seems to. So we'll go out there and take our thumbs to it and see what we got. I mean, I feel like we had a good piece yesterday. See if we can back it up again. I may screw it up, but the car may be good, or either way, it's anybody's guess.
All right, good luck to David Ruderman. That sounded like a Mark Martin interview, guys.
He's normally so positive, and then he was dominant at this racetrack a year ago.
Incredible. That was a great run for those guys. And you know what? I mean, he was racing Jeff Gordon for that. It's not like, I mean, he chased him down. They run door to door for multiple laps. That was a great race and a great race for David to win.
Now, Trevor Bayne locked himself in on lap number 1. In fact, he's the fastest of the go-or-go-homers, 26 quickest. He's going to go ahead and run his second lap, and it looks like he picked it up, which is only this. We haven't had that many drivers run a second lap, and he's only the second one to do that.
But it's
yeah, that's a good question, good answer.
And Carl said race car drivers weren't smart. Here's Joey Logano.
I'm sure a lot of it, though, is the engine's performing better, too, and picking up a lot, so you don't have to drive it that much harder.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah. No pressure.
Up into the green. Good run through turn 1.
You know, being Denny's teammate, I wonder if Denny and him discussed Denny's lap. You know, if Denny was able to kind of tell Joey how much grip was out there. That's something that teammates are able to do with one another. It really helps in qualifying.
Here's that corner that gave Jeff Gordon trouble.
Well, that car stuck right through the center, and you can see how good he was in the exit of that corner.
This is a good, solid lap. See, wiggled just a little bit getting into 3.
His mind right now, all he has to do is not mess this corner up. And it looks like he was a little slow on entry. He picked it back up, though, and made up for it. That's a pole lap right there.
Top of the board, Joey Logano. 52.309.
52.30. Nice.
Xtra plate win ever last night in the Bud Shootout.
He and Steve Addington, I mean, man, they came out of the box looking pretty darn good. Like you said, you won Atlanta, and went to Charlotte, won both races in Charlotte. And from there on, though, Larry, it's like something happened. They kind of fell off the map. Didn't get that kind of performance the second half of the year.
Yeah, it's almost like when they won both races at Charlotte Motor Speedway in May. That's when they kind of lost it. They got a little bit back maybe in the fall, but most of the summer months was quite dismal for Kurt Busch and that group.
Spent Wednesday at the drag strip testing his NHRA Pro Stock Dodge. He's going to run the Winter Nationals at Gainesville on the off weekend in March.
You know what? I really think there might even be a method to that madness. You think about the restarts we have to put up every week. These green-white checkers, and how many races we've seen won on who can get the best restart on some of those last 2-lap shootouts. Working on your reaction time and your restarts is not a bad thing these days.
Definitely not. 30th on the first lap for Kurt Busch. 49.47, which is top 20 territory. He could be the fastest Dodge. It's between he and Brad Keselowski, his teammate. And they're about tenth and a half apart on their first lap.
Yeah, if Kurt indeed qualifies for that NHRA event, he will join Richard Petty and John Andretti as the only other 2 NASCAR drivers to actually race in the NHRA.
That's right. Richard did a season of drag racing when Dodge was unhappy with NASCAR's rules. He took a little car called the 43 Junior in Petty Blue and went drag racing with it for most of a season.
It's going to be a great run for this Dodge, this 22 car of Kurt Busch.
11th for last night's winner of the Bud Shootout, Kurt Busch. Joey Logano in the Home Depot Camry finished second to teammate Denny Hamlin here last spring and 6th here last fall. 1 top 10 start in 4 attempts at Martinsville.
Now, he was second quickest in the first practice, but not with this race car. Early in the second and final practice, car got loose up the racetrack going into turn 3. They had to unload a backup car. They did get a few laps with this 20 car.
However, that quick practice time that he had would count toward where he lines up in qualifying, even though he has since gone to a backup car. Joey Logano, 20 seconds on his first lap. He's going right to the front row on lap 2, it looks like, where he will join Jamie McMurray, second fastest, 1968.
Good little old backup car.
Yes, sir. Really has. But one thing that got better as he got into it was Brad Keselowski ends up 4th. He probably had a much better 3 and 4 than 1 and 2.
But I think you called it, where he rolled out earlier and got back to the gas. These guys, and we saw the 9 car of Marcus Ambrose. He drove that thing all the way to the center of the corner when he went to qualify. And when it jumped out from under him, you couldn't make it up from the center of the corner. You saw Brad roll out, get to the bottom, get back to the gas, and from the center of the corner out, the tracker just climbed.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series rolling through wine country, qualifying for Sunday's Toyota Save Mark 350. Joey Logano, the 32nd car on track, and he is fast right now as he heads to turn 11.
He had a little wiggle through turn 10 there, but I'm going to tell you, he hauled some speed through turn 10.
You know, while this Joe Gibbs car is qualifying, I think we should address what happened at Michigan with the oil pan situation. We know we have a lot of viewers that were watching that show last week at Michigan. They had unapproved oil pans on all three of the Joe Gibbs cars.
Not up and not really into it. He's got to act like he is. So it's kind of a role the driver has to play. You don't want to be, you kind of want to hit it right in the middle. And that's hard to do.
But he definitely has to be a cheerleader a lot of times when that team is maybe a little bit down, no question.
A car number that's been to victory lane in the 500 7 times with Stock Car Racing's king, Richard Petty, at the wheel. This is the Richard Petty Motorsports number 43 for A.J. Allmendinger, who finished third in his first Daytona 500 in 2009.
There's no question when AJ went to drive for Richard Petty Motorsports that you could almost see that Richard Petty somewhat wrapped his arm around AJ Allmendinger, kind of like, this is my boy right here. And they did have a little bit of a huge powwow in the garage area at the 4th of July race last year. Got a little heated there for a little bit.
When you said he wrapped his arms around him, you weren't lying.
Well, I think he was pointing his finger at him that
big old long index, that ET index finger poking him in the chest. I don't think AJ took kindly to that.
First lap complete for Allmendinger, 22nd at a 49.53. Now you see where that line is on our Fox tracker, and that will stay there to indicate the first lap. Of particular interest is going to be that number backgrounded in blue, which is the difference. Plus means slower than the fastest qualifier. A minus would be quicker. You have speed, you have RPM, you have over here where he would place if that lap would end right at this moment. It's a dynamic tracker, and there's a lot going on there, but all the information you need to follow your favorite driver is right there.
Looks like he may end up being just a little bit slower than his teammate Marcus Ambrose in the 9 car that was just out a second ago. Marcus is 9. Looks like AJ's going to end up about 11th.
48.83.
There in her wedding gown. You know what I mean? I mean, who stops on the church to get
Hey, we're about to run out of gas, honey. We got to pull over.
We got to go. We're going to have to get some petrol here.
Joey Logano on the clock now. His first lap, 13th quick, 26.696.
Now, Brian Vickers, while we were at break, he had a great qualifying run. It came on his first lap at a 26.62. He's 6th quickest. He becomes the fastest Toyota so far.
Yeah, manufacturers pretty evenly distributed up in the top 10. A Ford up top, McMurray driving the Chevrolet, then a Ford of Edwards. The Dodge of Brad Keselowski, and Jimmy Johnson with a Chevy there in 5th. And then, as you mentioned, Vickers and Witt with 2 Toyotas.
First time at Indy for the 500. He sat on the pole. First time at Daytona for this 500. He started from the front row.
Tell you what else he shared with us the other day. You know, he has some World of Outlaw teams, and last year he hired a young lady out of New York, Jessica Zimpkin, that drives one of his World of Outlaw teams. He said as we started traveling around the country, we realized we somewhat enjoyed each other. Guess what? Jessica's now dating the car owner, Tony Stewart.
First lap for Stewart, 49.30. That's within the range of Clint Boyer and Mark Martin. Stewart time trialed 10th fastest here last February, and he's led more laps at Daytona than any active driver.
And he's one of the guys I was talking about last night, kind of look at Jimmy Johnson and kind of judge off what he does. Tony's lost a lot of weight. He's lost like 15 or 20 pounds. He's down to he looks really good coming into this season, physically, mentally, emotionally. I think he's well prepared to get a great start.
And we knew he would be a player as far as a top qualifier, because I think we've well documented in his 3rd year of being with Stewart-Haas that they get the Hendrick engines, they get the Hendrick technology, so not surprised to see him up there.
And there he went below the yellow line. Now that's perfectly legal when you're qualifying. Get down on that apron if you want to. Just don't do it on the last lap, well, any lap of a race.
Good guess at what we needed for qualifying, so it worked out okay.
He's in the chase. He'll be running for the championship.
All right, Vince. Thanks, Joey Logano. Part of that Joe Gibbs Racing Richmond juggernaut. Won the last 5 straight races. Logano has finished 4th and 11th in the last 2 Richmond races.
I think Joey's just becoming better and better, especially short track driver, where it takes so much field and you need to get so much information back to the crew chief. And I think we're seeing a big improvement in Joey Logano in that way.
He's flirting with it.
And a really good 1 and 2. He got a little loose off of turn 4, which is easy to do. You power down and it's got a lot of room out there, but the car really wants to go towards the wall.
Ultimate pre-race show powers into Pocono. Denny Hamlin joins us live. Puts him in the show. 53.807 seconds.
You're good. Shut her down, bud. Shut her down.